Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start using VLOOKUP functions, and I'm going to use them for 17, 18, and 19. Okay, this was tricky. A lot of you guys had problems with this. Everybody knows what the VLOOKUP function is and how to use it, but there were some mistakes made at the beginning when you guys were creating these files, importing them, and it sort of cascaded down when you got into these VLOOKUP functions. Okay, so 17 says, in cell D4, enter a function to look up. That gives me a clue that I want to use the VLOOKUP. Look up the pay type from the contents of the file m17data.csv. Here's the problem, okay? I already converted m17data.csv into an Excel format. I believe it was, let me go back here and see which one it was. Yes, it's book 1, okay? So if I go and I just try to import stuff in my Excel file, if I try to do a VLOOKUP function using m17data.csv, it's going to create mistakes because one is an Excel file, which is this one, which I've created, and the other is just a .csv file. So there's going to be some errors, okay? So what I'm going to do is this m17data.csv, as we did in the beginning, I already converted that to Excel, and I've already even got it in the rupees. So I'm a step ahead. And as you can see, I haven't added it as a sheet, I've just kept it separate, okay? So this is the file that I'm working in for our test, which they told me to rename in this format. That's the wages, that's the original of this one here, this M17. That's the book 2, that's the original of that I converted. So let's just go back then. Okay, so I'm gonna go into D4 because it says go into D4, enter a function to look up something. So D4, all right, and I'm going to use the VLOOKUP equals V. The value I want to compare is the job code. So I'm just going to click on the job code cell, put in a comma. My table array is going to be this one that I select, which was, so don't forget that I converted the m17data.csv. I converted that into an Excel file called book 1. Okay, so I'm just going to select everything. I like to select everything, including the header in the in the array, just to make sure. All right, so I've got that there. Great, comma. Which column now? Which column do I want to spit out information from? Which is column 2. Because if we look here, the job codes are all these, ADSL, so on and so forth. And the pay type is here, WWWS, so on and so forth. Okay? So it's the second column of the data that I want to spit out. Oops, sorry. I have just selected. And the range lookup is false, okay? It is false because I'm not looking for range lookup, I'm looking for exact data. In other words, if it is HD, I want it to be W. If it is IM, I want it to be S, IS, W, IT, so forth. In other words, it is exact data. Okay, so it's not a range, it is exact data, which is false. Oops. That. All right, that should be good. Okay. And that looks good. Okay, so I'm just going to populate all of that down there. Boom, looks good. I'm going to save that because that looks good and I don't want to ruin anything else. Okay, next one is in cell, so I'm just going to move my instructions up so I can see them. In cell F4, enter formula to calculate the weekly wage for this employee using the annual salary from the file m17data.csv. So I'm still going to use this file. Great, it's open, wonderful. Okay, and I want to do a formula. Okay, so let's have a look at this. I want to calculate the weekly wage only if the pay type is W. If the pay type is not W, do not display anything in this cell. So I need to do a couple of things. I want to do the weekly wage. All right. Well, in this, they give me my annual salary. Okay. So whatever I'm dealing with here, I want to divide my annual salary by 52 because that's the weekly wage. But don't forget, up here it says employees are paid to work for 50 weeks. So I'm going to divide that by 50. All right. I'm just going to do the code to save time on this video, and then I will explain to you guys what I did with this code once I hit record again. Okay. Okay, so I just paused the video in the interest of time, just to save some time so everything didn't have to take so long for you guys to watch. Okay, so we want to do this. In cell F4, enter a formula to calculate the weekly wage for this employee using the annual salary from the file, which I explained where to get all that data up there. It's going to be 50 weeks, okay? So formula must display the weekly wage only if the pay type is W. If the pay type is not W, do not display anything in the cell. All right, so if we go back to F4 to do the weekly wage, I've filled out my formula. I need an if formula because I'm saying in cell F4, enter a formula to calculate the weekly wage for the employee using the annual salary. Yes, that's true. Here's the clue here. The formula must display the weekly wage only if the pay type is W. Okay, so if the pay type is W, I'm going to spit out something. If the pay type is not W, I will just have an empty cell. Okay, let's scroll down to see if, yes, pay type is S there, so that is an empty cell. But let me just explain this formula. Okay, so I need an if formula, and I also need a VLOOKUP formula because I'm going to go back to my old friend, which is all the wage salary. Okay, so if the stuff in D4 equals W, all right, I'm going to spit out the weekly wage. If not, I'm going to do nothing. Okay, so if statement great, if D4 equals W, now I have to look up my values again in this spreadsheet here. All I did for the VLOOKUP then was say, okay, now I need the VLOOKUP. Now I'm going to compare the job codes here, E4, okay? So whatever is in E4, I'm going to translate into my VLOOKUP, okay? So, to go back, if D4 equals W, I'm going to spit out something. And in order to spit that out, I need to use the VLOOKUP function. The value, let's go back into there. All right. The lookup value then is going to be my job code once again, and I use my good old friend here. Okay. I'm going to click out of this so that I don't make any more mistakes. Great. Okay. So, yes, once again, comparing the job code, then I just cut and paste everything that's in here in book 1, which is all my salaries. Okay, now, which column do I want to spit out? Well, it's column 3, because in column 3 here, I want to spit out my annual salary. Okay, and once again, the values are false because it is not arranged, and it's an exact value. In other words, if it is a CR code and a W, I'm going to do something. So that's exact. All right, now, in here, it's my annual salary. Okay, so I want to divide this VLOOKUP function by 50 because that'll give me my weekly wage. And if you remember, don't forget, up here in the instructions, it says that they get paid 50 weeks out of the year. Where is that again? Oh, sorry, that's back down here in task 3. Task 3 says, yes, we get paid 50 weeks in each year, okay? So that's what I did, okay? Now for 19, in cell G4, enter a formula to calculate the monthly salary for this employee if the pay type is S. If the pay type is not S, do not display anything in this cell. Well, guess what? Everything that I'm going to do in G4 is exactly like everything I did in F4. In other words, I can just cut and paste this instruction here, put it in my monthly salary, okay? But I'm going to change a couple of things. So let me just copy that, put that in. Oops, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, so all I did was I just cut and pasted the formula that was in F4, okay? But I want to change a couple of things because I don't want it to be, I don't want it to be weekly, I want it to be monthly. So instead of divided by 50, I will do, and it also says for this instruction, if it is S, so I want to change the W to an S. Okay, let's see what that does. All right, so looks good so far because pay type is a W, so I should be expressing nothing. If I've got an S, I should calculate the monthly salary. So let's just fill all of this stuff. Boom, 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 boom. We go down, we autofill. Great, looks like it worked. I got an S here, so I've got my monthly salary down here. Okay, same with S here. Okay, now I want to format again. So I just want to format the cells for Indian rupees. Format my cells. I want it to be currency, 2 decimal places, and I want it to be Indian rupees again. Far. I'm just going to pause it just to try to find it. Okay, hold on. Okay, so it took me a while to find the rupee currency again, but that's all I did. So I changed the currency in this column to rupees and 2 decimal places. Okay, basically we're done now then. Okay, there's a couple of evidence things that you need to cut and paste, which you've done, which are easy to do. The last thing you really want to do is change the last big thing you want to do is change it to landscape, I believe. Where is it here? Apply for print save I think it's 22. Save the spreadsheet for as in landscape orientation. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do. So I'm just going to select that page layout. Go back to that. That's landscape. Okay. And I am ready to go, and that's it. Okay. Thanks, guys.